This segment brought to you by Bob Schwartz Financial. Values, commitment, transparency.
Duane Toews alongside Earl Roemer from Scott City, Kansas. A unique business model that you've got in western Kansas, there at Scott City, in particular, NuLife Market. We kind of referenced grain sorghum and how it's a kind of a new opportunity to look at changing profitability for growers through the food-grade sorghum program. Tell us a little bit about your farm's transition and then starting a business and taking that big step.
It definitely did not happen overnight, Duane, and we had to recognize a lot of the challenges and then build that plan and that roadmap that would potentially allow us for some success in this, because we were introducing a product that really didn't have a lot of consumer demand, and so nothing came easy, and it didn't happen overnight, but the consumers demanded those characteristics that grain sorghum had, and we had increased demand for those. And so I had the great opportunity originally to be able to connect with some of the largest food companies in the U.S. And the reason I was able to do that is because some of the research that was being conducted and funded also through the United Sorghum Checkoff Program and National Sorghum Producers. And a lot of this demand came from grain sorghum being naturally gluten-free and not genetically modified. Those are characteristics that are in tremendous demand by consumers right now. And because of that high level of market share now, and because of those attributes, the large companies, large food companies and manufacturers in this country were forced in to needing a grain that could fill that consumer demand.
It's interesting, and I'm torn a bit as a general agriculturalist in that regard that the non-GMO thing is so important to some people, while at the same time, you and I have both said it takes a tremendous breeding program and genetics to get that specific variety produced that will work for them in this sorghum for food program.
Without a doubt, and it became a great opportunity because grain sorghum is not genetically modified to be able to have that segment of that market and having that consumer demand for that category of product. The key point is how those consumers arrived at that demand was really difficult for most of us in production agriculture, but the reality is we have to produce products that are going to have that demand and recognize that. The GMO, the non-GMO attribute of grain sorghum was 60% of our growth last year in our food company. So we definitely recognize that. And we market towards that. It's not necessarily, our own personal beliefs. It's what the consumer believes and what they demand.
It kind of looks back from my perspective that because of a poor job on our part about educating consumers about that process and what it really entailed, we've kind of made this bed for ourselves to lie in, and you've got two choices now. You can either dig your heels in or you can look at new opportunities.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, you have to look at how fast information flows now because of our technology, because of social media, and you have to recognize that speed of information. And not all of that information is correct, but that information is out there and it goes out there quickly. But grain sorghum just happens to have these great attributes, and the primary ones are that gluten-free, the non-GMO, and just as important is that less use of our natural resources in the production of that grain, which is naturally inherent. That's why we produce it in these arid regions, the plains, whether it's Kansas or whether it's up in Nebraska and western Nebraska or Oklahoma or down in the panhandle of Texas. We just have to have that risk management that grain sorghum gives us. But it also created a great opportunity because the consumers now, they want to eat foods that are responsibly grown and that uses less of our natural resources. So that's another attribute that provided this opportunity for grain sorghum to be in the food industry.
Duane Toews alongside Earl Roemer, talking about NuLife Market and opportunities for food-grade grain sorghum in the Central Plains.
I'm Bob Schwartz, and I've devoted the last 43 years to helping Kansans reach their retirement goals and to protect the family farm. At Bob Schwartz Financial, we believe everyone should be able to live the retirement they've always dreamed of. Our team of professionals can help you create an efficient strategy using a variety of investment vehicles to help you address your financial needs and your concerns. Bob Schwartz Financial values commitment and transparency.